There is a silent force that kills potential before it ever becomes reality. It doesn't wear a mask. It doesn't announce itself. It whispers. It flatters. It convinces you that you already know enough, that you've already arrived, that you're better than others. This force is your ego, and it's not your friend. It's your enemy. Ego tells you that you're a genius before you've done the work. It makes you crave recognition before you've built anything worth remembering. It's the voice that says, you're special, when what you really need to hear is, you have so much more to learn. Ego doesn't want progress. It wants applause. And ego is the enemy. Ryan Holiday exposes how this invisible force destroys ambition, corrupts success, and turns failure into personal catastrophe. Ego doesn't just affect arrogant people. It's a threat to everyone, because ego wears many faces. Sometimes it looks like pride. Sometimes it looks like insecurity. Sometimes it sounds like confidence, but it's really fear in disguise. The danger begins before success ever shows up. At the beginning of any journey, ego tempts you with fantasies of being recognized, respected, admired. You picture the praise, the spotlight, the rewards, but you haven't earned them yet. Ego wants shortcuts. But success never comes to those who skip the process. It comes to those who put in the work, quietly, consistently, without demanding recognition every step of the way. There's a big difference between ambition and ego. Ambition says, let's build something great. Ego says, I am already great. One moves you forward, the other keeps you stuck in a fantasy. When you think you're already special, you stop improving. When you think you're already better, you stop learning. History is full of people who fell into this trap. Talented, brilliant individuals who sabotaged themselves by believing their own hype. They refused mentorship. They ignored feedback. They burned bridges. Why? Because their ego was louder than their purpose. And purpose requires humility. It demands that you say, I don't know yet. I still have more to learn. I still have work to do. Even when you start to achieve real success, ego doesn't go away. In fact, it gets louder. It tells you you're above others, that you don't need help anymore, that you've outgrown your team, your mentors, your community. This is when people start to plateau or worse, crash, because they confuse momentum with invincibility. They think winning once means they'll win forever. But the truth is, the more you succeed, the more dangerous ego becomes. You've seen it happen. A rising entrepreneur builds a great company, then starts believing he's a genius in everything. He stops listening, stops adapting, starts making reckless decisions, not because he's less smart, but because ego drowned out his common sense. Ego says, no one can stop me. Reality eventually does. Real success isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about being the most disciplined, the most prepared, the most consistent. The best performers in any field are often the most humble. They're not chasing status. They're obsessed with mastery. They understand that success is rented, and rent is due every day. When failure comes and it always does, ego is what turns a stumble into a spiral. Instead of taking responsibility, ego blames others. Instead of reflecting, it reacts. Instead of asking, what can I learn? It says, this is unfair. But growth only happens when you're willing to admit your role in the outcome. Ryan Holiday shows that ego is not just arrogance. It's also denial. It's defensiveness. It's the refusal to change. And that's what keeps people stuck. Not the failure itself, but the inability to move through it with honesty and courage. When you let go of ego, failure becomes a teacher. Pain becomes perspective. Setbacks become setups for something greater. But if ego stays in charge, every failure feels personal. Every mistake feels fatal. Every piece of feedback feels like an attack. You can't grow when you're protecting a fragile image. You grow when you let the mask fall and face the truth. Not the version you wish was real, the one that actually is. That's where power lives in reality, not illusion. Humility is not weakness. It's clarity. It's strength that doesn't need to shout. It's knowing that you're capable, but also that you're not perfect, that you have potential, but you haven't arrived, that you're talented, but talent without discipline is wasted. The most dangerous ego is the quiet one, the one that tells you, I'm not like them, I'm better. It hides behind politeness, behind success, even behind spirituality. It whispers superiority, even when your mouth says humble things. But actions reveal the truth, and ego always finds a way to expose itself. So how do you fight it? You fight it by staying a student, always, no matter how much you know, no matter how far you've come. The moment you think you've arrived is the moment growth stops. Learning never ends, and the people who stay relevant, effective, and powerful are the ones who never stop learning. You fight it by doing the work, especially when no one is watching. Ego wants credit. Purpose wants progress. Ego seeks the spotlight. Mastery is built in the dark. You fight it by journaling, writing down what's real, what you're grateful for, what you need to improve. You fight it by reflecting before reacting. You fight it by remembering how far you still have to go. You fight it by serving others. Ego is self-centered. Service forces you to get out of your own head, to connect, to contribute, to realize it's not all about you. You fight it by reminding yourself that you're replaceable. No matter how skilled you are, someone out there can do it better, faster, cheaper. That's not a threat, it's motivation. Stay sharp, stay hungry, stay humble. You fight it by understanding that praise and criticism are just noise. They don't define you. They don't determine your value. Only your actions do. Only your consistency. Only your impact. Ego wants validation. Purpose wants results. Every day, your ego will try to seduce you. It will say, you've done enough. It will say, you don't need help. It will say, they should be grateful to have you. But you know better. You know that greatness isn't found in comfort. It's found in challenge, in service, in discipline. Kill your ego before it kills your potential. Because it will. It already has 4 millions. You don't need to be impressive. You need to be useful. You don't need to be the loudest. You need to be the most prepared. You don't need to be celebrated. You need to be consistent. The work will speak. The results will echo. Let them. Your ego is the enemy. But only if you let it win.